So the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is reviewing materials taken from former President Trump's Florida estate for the potential national security risks. That review was requested in part by Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff. And the Democratic congressman from California joins us now. Thank you very much for being on this morning. If you could further explain that request.
Well, as Neil was saying, these documents were marked sensitive compartmented information. There was also indication that human sources may have been involved. And the danger is not just the information that's in the document, but even more so the source of gathering that information. If that was compromised, people's lives could be put at risk. If it's a technical source, and some of our best sources are technical means of collection, and the adversary is able to figure out, OK, this must have been the way they got that information, then that technical source is disabled, and you lose all the information you might have gotten in the future about an adversary. So I've asked the director to do the analysis to make sure that we mitigate any risks, that if they're human sources, they're protected, and if they're technical sources, that we take steps to protect that as well.
And what are the key reasons that you've made this request, that you're having this review taken? What were the indications that there could be a problem? And how long would a review like this take?
Well, the primary indication, because we haven't seen the documents, is how they're marked. And when they bear that SCI marking, it generally means that there is a very sensitive source involved. And if the source is revealed, it could do grave damage to the national security. So that alone, and then, of course, you've got the volume of these documents, the cavalier manner, the reckless manner in which they were being maintained in various locations, in some cases, according to the government filing, intermixed with newspaper clips and other detritus. So it poses a real concern in terms of how long it would take. I think they'll do a very early, quick check to make sure if there's a human source involved, do we need to get someone out of some location? But then it may take a bit of time, weeks, to determine, OK, is there any indication that people had access to these documents? Is there any indication that our adversary now is suspicious about this particular source? So that could take some time.
Chairman Schiff, we were speaking earlier this morning about the impact of the hearings of your January 6th Select Committee on a bit of a summer hiatus right now, but you all have promised to come back with more information about the events leading up to that day and what happened on the 6th. Can you preview some of that and let the audience know when you may be back in front of cameras telling that story?
I think we will certainly have a hearing or hearings on our recommendations, and our role is not predominantly or even partially a prosecutorial role. That's the Justice Department. But ours is to do the oversight, expose the malfeasance, and then propose corrective action, generally in the form of legislation. So I think we'll have a hearing or hearings on the reforms necessary to protect us. And that might be reforms to the Electoral Count Act, or it might be reforms to how the powers of the presidency can be abused. But we also may have a hearing or hearings of a kind of factual nature like you have seen in the past. We're very much in daily, weekly discussions about that. We've set a high bar, and we want to make sure any hearings we have meet that high bar.
All right, just final questions politically. Heading toward the midterms, we had a surprise result in Alaska and some trend lines in the polls. How confident are you about Democrats' potential for success in the midterms, especially in what would be a very hard-fought battle in the House?
Well, I'm feeling very optimistic now. I've been on the road around the country helping our candidates and our vulnerable incumbents in probably at least a dozen or 2 dozen states in the last few months. And when I was out there months ago, candidates would tell me they're facing some real headwinds. Now the situation on the ground is completely different. If anything, we have a slight breeze at our backs. I still don't want to understate the challenge of a midterm and a president's first term. Yeah. But our candidates are doing extremely well. They've recruited, largely because of Trump's involvement, a lot of unelectable people, extreme people. And I do think when we really began to see that change, as you were indicating earlier, was when the Supreme Court took the rights of Americans away, jeopardized women's reproductive care. That was really the beginning of the change in momentum, and we just hope and are going to work hard to continue that momentum up through the election.
Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.